Hello viewers, welcome back to this tutorial on Manual Statistics Arena. In today's session, we are going to look at a box and whisker plot. A box and whisker plot. A box and whisker plot is a descriptive statistics. So one may ask, what is a box and whisker plot? A box and whisker plot is a graphical method of displaying variations in a data set. So the graphical method of displaying variations in the data set is called a box and whisker plot. In most cases, histograms are used to analyze data because histograms give us vivid information and also give us additional knowledge to what we expect. But then, preferably, researchers opt for box and whisker plots instead of histogram. Why then is the answer? And the answer to this question is that box and whisker plot gives additional analysis. So it gives us additional information to the data values that we are working with. So in most instances, they normally opt for a box and whisker plot instead of the others. Now, let's look at how we interpret a box and whisker plot. Now, we've defined it that it's a graphical method of displaying variations in a data set. Now, let's look at how we can interpret a box and whisker plot. So with the interpretation, we are going to look at the 5 main properties that underline a box and whisker plot. So the first property of a box and whisker plot is that it has the maximum number. So this is the first property of a box and whisker plot. It has the maximum number. 2. The second property of a box and whisker plot is that it has the minimum number. This is the second property of a box and whisker plot. Now let's move on to the third property. The third property of a box and whisker plot is that it has the first quartile. First quarter is denoted by Q1. So in every given data values, how may we know this data represents the first quarter? So in the representation of the first quarter, we are saying that the first quarter is greater than 25% but less than 75%. So in any given data value, our first quarter is always greater than 25% but less than 75%. So the first quarter is always greater than 25% but less than 75%. So this is our third property. Now let's move on to our fourth property. The fourth property of a whisker plot is that it has the second quartile. Second quartile is denoted by Q2. Then another name given to the second quartile is called the median. So in a given value, sometimes you may not hear second quartile, but then a median is also another name given to the second quartile. So the second quartile is also called the median. Now the last data value that forms the properties of the box and whisker plots is the third quartile. Third quartile is denoted by Q3. In a given data set, how may we identify that this data set represents the third quartile? So in every data set that has been given, the third quartile is always greater than 75% but less than 25%. So you see, The first quarter is greater than 25% but less than 25%, whereas the third quarter is greater than 75% but less than 25%. So these are the 5 main properties that underlies a box and Whisker plot. Now let's move on to the graphical representation of the Whisker plot so that we can get much insight into what we are doing. So now I know we know our properties. So this is the interpretation of the box and Whisker plot, and these are the 5 main properties of a box and Whisker plot. So now I'm cleaning the board. So now let me draw a box and Whisker plot so we can interpret it. Every box and Whisker plot is on a straight line. So please, this is our straight line. Now let's come to the drawing of the box and Whisker plot. So please, this is my box and Whisker plot on the board. So now, this is the box. This is the box. And the line that you see here, they are called the whiskers. So these lines are called the whiskers, and this is the box. So now, let's identify the minimum value, the maximum value, and also the first quartile, second quartile or median, and the third quartile. Okay, so the first edge of the box, is our first quartile. So that is Q1. So the first edge of the box is our first quartile, Q1. Then the middle is our median. So that is Q2. Now the last edge of the box is our third quartile. That is Q3. Now let's come to how to identify our minimum and maximum number. Please kindly note, when we look at the numbers on a straight line, we can all attest to the fact that 5 is the smallest number here and 50 is the largest number here. So in any given scenario, all of us, when we are asked to identify the minimum number, I know you all select 5 because 5 is the least number here. And if you are asked to find the maximum number, you all select 50 because 50 is the maximum number here or the biggest number here. But then in this scenario, that's not the case. So one may then say, please, how may we identify, or what can we use, or what is the channel, or what approach do we use to identify our minimum and maximum number? Then that is a good question here. So in addressing such a question, how to identify your minimum and maximum number with a box and Whisker plot is your whiskers. So the whiskers are used to identify the minimum and maximum number. So on your left side, or on my left side, the number beneath the whisker. Note, the number beneath my whisker on my left side is my minimum number. So in this scenario, 10 is my minimum number. 10 is my minimum number. So my minimum number here is 10 because it is beneath the whiskers. So we use the whiskers to identify the minimum and maximum number. On my right side, the number beneath the whisker is my maximum number. So in this scenario, 45 is beneath the whisker. So 45 then becomes my maximum number. So my maximum number is 45. So please, 50 is not our maximum number and 5 is not our minimum number. I said, and I'm repeating myself, we use the Whiskers to identify both the minimum and maximum numbers. So in this scenario, 10 is our minimum number, whereas 45 is our maximum number. Now, upon getting all this in now, let's identify our first quarter. So our first quarter, that is Q1. So our first quarter in this scenario is 20. So Q1 is 20. Now our median is 25. Our third quarter is 35. So now, upon getting all these 5 dimensions of the box and Whisker plot, what I'm doing right now is what? I'm doing interpretation of the box and Whisker plot. We've identified our minimum number, our maximum number. Now we are saying that our Q1, our first quarter is 20. Our Q2 is 25. And our Q3 is 35. So our first quarter is 20, our second quarter is 25, and our third quarter is 35. Now, this is how we do the interpretation of a box and Whisker plot. Please, I hope it is well understood. Now, we are moving on to the final stage of this session. The final stage of this session is to solve for the interquartile range. So in every box and Whisker plot given to us, we will be asked to find the interquartile range. So that is IQR. So IQR, interquartile range. And the formula for finding the interquartile range is we find the difference between the first quartile and the third quartile. So finding the difference between the first quartile and the third quartile gives us the interquartile range. So the formula is Q3 minus Q1. So Q3 minus Q1. So Q3 minus Q1 gives us the interquartile range. Q3 minus Q1 gives us the interquartile range. So in every given box and Whisker plot, the calculation aspect of it is to find the interquartile range. And I'm saying that the formula for finding interquartile range is to find the difference between the first quartile and the third quartile. And this is the formula. So interquartile range is equal to Q3 minus Q1. Now we know that per this box and Whisker plot graphical representation, our Q3 is 35. So our Q3 is 35. Our median is 25. And our first quarter is 20. Now we know our minimum number and we know our maximum number. So to find the interquartile range, we find the difference between the third quarter and the first quarter. So here our third quarter is what? Is 35. So IQR is equal to third quarter 35. So 35 minus the first quarter 20. So 35 minus 20. So 35 minus 20 gives us what? 15. 15. Now our interquartile range becomes 15. So now 15 becomes our answer. So please, this is all about a box and Whisker plot. As I said, always you will get your straight line. Always you will get your straight line. And then there will be divisions of the straight line. So they will divide it for you. Now after the division, they will then ask you to find or to identify your first quartile, your second quartile, your third quartile, your maximum number and your minimum number. So please, I'm wrapping up. So in any given situation where we've been asked to identify our minimum and maximum number, please note, I'm saying that we identify our minimum and maximum number through the Whiskers. So we use the Whiskers, these Whiskers to identify our minimum and maximum numbers. So we use the Whiskers. So now, although 5 is the least number here, 5 is the least number here, but then 5 is not our minimum number because 5 is not under the whisker. So in this graphical representation, 10 becomes our minimum number because 10 is beneath the whisker. And 50 is not our maximum number. 45 is our maximum number because 45 is under the whisker. So the first edge of the box is our first quartile. The middle is our second quartile or median. And the last edge of the board is our third quartile. So please, this is a classical representation of a box and whisker plot. I know this session is very easy and all the terms have been well explained, and I know now we have no problems with respect to a box and whisker plot. Thank you very much for your time and your energy. I know you might be having another important work to do, but then you opted or you prioritize this instead of the other. Hold on, we will also bring you another session on some of the areas under statistics. I know you really enjoyed this session. Thank you very much.